Welcome back. Tonight we are privileged to be joined by 8th District Congressman Larry Bucshon. This is going to be the first part of a two-part sit-down with him. Welcome back, Congressman.
Well, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll start. The biggest thing you guys have worked on, actually within the last few days, is a change to Medicare. You guys have been very adamant about getting that done.
Yeah, what this is in 1997 in the budget process, a formula was put in place on how Medicare pays doctors. It was a flawed formula from the beginning. And what's happened is every year we've had to fix it 17 times since 2002. And every year there's this cliff of where doctors are going to get a big pay cut. And more importantly, it's going to limit access to seniors to physicians because more physicians have been dropping out of the program. So we were able to pass in the House with bipartisan support yesterday with 392 votes a reform to that program. And what this does is it eliminates this cliff that we have every year, puts a new formula in place, and I think makes some other smaller changes to Medicare that will help sustain the program for the future for our seniors. So this is a really big deal, and I think when the Senate passes it and the President signs it, which he says he will, America's seniors are going to be very happy.
So it's been about 17, almost 18 years with that formula in place.
Yes.
What took so long to make the change?
Well, I think what happened is that they just kept fixing it temporarily, you know, and kicking the can down the road. And part of the problem is that to fix it costs some money to the government, and so we had to find ways to make some other changes in the Medicare program that were acceptable to both political parties, that would pay for the changes in the way physicians are reimbursed, and we've been able to do that. And these are minor changes that will help sustain the program and won't have any effect essentially on our seniors. So it's a really big deal. That was the biggest stepping stone, I think, to getting this done, is getting an agreement without kicking the can down the road, and I'm so happy that we did.
And so presuming now this makes a good change to Medicare, what other types of things, healthcare-wise, are things you guys can see just kind of tweaking just to make the system continue going the right direction?
Well, there are some big concerns, you know, in the Affordable Care Act. Right now we have people getting their hours cut to 29 hours because of the 30-hour work week rule. We've already passed in the House a bill to change that in the law back to 40 hours so that people aren't getting their hours cut. You know, this summer the Supreme Court's going to rule on whether or not federal exchanges can offer subsidies, because the law says that exchanges established by the state can offer subsidies. And so I think if the Supreme Court rules that the federal exchanges cannot, we're going to have to put into place probably tax credits and other ways to make sure that people continue to have access to health care. So I see that coming this summer. I also think that you're going to find that there's going to be some more changes in the long run to the Affordable Care Act. And the reason is because people are seeing very high deductibles on these plans and the premiums are going up. So my personal view is we need price transparency, we need quality transparency, we need expansion of health savings accounts for people, similar to what Healthy Indiana Plan 2.0 is doing for Medicaid patients, because that is something with the leadership of the governor we've been able to get done to cover low-income seniors. So low-income citizens, not just seniors. So I think that you're going to see some, really over the next couple of years, some minor changes to the Affordable Care Act, hopefully in a positive way.
Has that type of plan, the Healthy Indiana Plan, has that gotten much play nationally?
Oh, yes. In Washington, D.C., a lot of people are talking about it. The reason is because it's a state-based program, not a federal program, but and it's been shown to save money for the Medicaid program. Traditional Medicaid really in most states has a lot of financial problems. There's not enough money. It doesn't reimburse providers at a level that encourages providers to participate in the program. So citizens that are on Medicaid have problems with access. Healthy Indiana Plan, in contrast, right, covers the same group of patients, low-income citizens, but the reimbursement is at a higher level, at the Medicare level, because fortunately for us, the hospitals in the state are participating with some money added to the program. And so what does that do? Well, that encourages providers to participate. And so it increases access for low-income citizens because it reimburses the providers at a level that will encourage them to participate. The other thing is it does have some co-pays where people have to pay a little bit for their health care, and that's been shown across the country to encourage people to utilize the system in a more effective manner. Rather than going to the emergency room, people are encouraged to get preventive health care and to go to the doctor's office, which is a much cheaper way to pay for their health care.
And now, shifting gears to another big issue at the national level has been the employment situation.
Yes.
First, though, give me an overall characterization of where the economy is nationally.
Well, I think the economy is very slowly improving for some sectors. But if you look across the economy, there's many people who are still hurting. The financial sector with the stock market and that has been going up, although the last couple of days it's been dipping. You are starting to see, consumers start to purchase more products and the economy is starting to grow. But there's still, if you talk to people around the 8th District of Indiana, still people struggling because incomes have been flat. People haven't been getting raises. In fact, in the last 4 or 5 years, an average family income has gone down by about $4,000 if you look at inflation and other things. So incomes have been flat. People haven't been getting raises. But the economy is starting to turn around. And we do still have a low workforce participation. What that means is the number of people who are able to work actually participating in the workforce, that number has been, for a number of years, the lowest it's been in decades. So part of that is, I think, is we do have an education or a skills gap. And a lot of people are talking about that. The jobs of today require some training and some education. No longer can you even say go to a coal mine and just get a job. The jobs are really high tech, so you need some technical training, like a 2-year college degree at some place like Vincennes University, that is here in Jasper, their Jasper campus, to get a skill. And I think we're catching up, and I think people are understanding that they need to get a skill. And then once we catch up on the education side, I think there are jobs out there that we can fill.
And then as we wrap up this evening, Indiana has been seeing that participation in the workforce growing and so forth. How can we encourage that, maybe through policy or other things at the national level?
Yeah, I think Indiana's done a lot of the right things. First of all, Indiana's budget has been balanced. In fact, we've had a surplus. So financially, Indiana has been in good shape. The Indiana regulatory climate as it relates to industry is, compared to the national level, is more acceptable and more appealing to businesses to create jobs in our state. And so overall, I think, with the state budget being balanced, having a surplus, and the regulatory climate being better here than it is in many states, for example, compared to some of our neighbors, that we're seeing job creation here. Jobs are being created, and I'm optimistic Indiana can continue to attract businesses. Our tax code, I didn't mention, our tax treatment for businesses is much more favorable than some of the other states, especially some of our surrounding states. So I think Indiana is on the verge of really growing and continuing to grow. We already are the #1 manufacturing state in the country, and I just see that growing. So, at the national level, we can learn some lessons. Make sure the tax code is fair for businesses and individuals. Make sure the regulations aren't too stringent, that they're appropriate, but they don't hinder job growth. And we need to balance our federal budget and get our finances back on track at the federal level. Those are things Indiana has done. Those are things I think the rest of the country can learn from.
Of course, the federal budget now around $4 trillion, I think, if I read that correctly.
Yeah, it is. I think our budget in the House that we passed is around $3.8 trillion. And the reality is that, our tax revenue, the actual dollars of taxes that we bring in, has been the highest in history. But our House budget that we passed will balance in about 10 years. People say, well, why can't you just balance the budget next year? Well, because there's programs like Medicare and Medicaid and others, that need reform, and you just can't, pull the rug out from under our citizens in the short run. But you need to make long-term changes that gets us back on a sustainable pathway. I'm personally for a balanced budget amendment at the national level. I think Washington, D.C. has been shown under both political parties for decades the inability to balance the budget in a realistic way without a balanced budget amendment, and I support that, and I'm hopefully at some point we can get that done.
All righty. Well, Congressman, we appreciate you being here as always.
Well, thank you for having me.
That is the conclusion of part 1 of our conversation with Congressman Larry Bucshon. Tune in tomorrow night for part 2. We're back after this.